Hello and welcome to our webinar. Today we are going to present you our new handheld, the XA1000, which is part of the LufftAcademy generation. If you have any question or doubt, you can easily use the chat on your right and write us your comments. We will have some small breaks where we will answer them. Today's schedule, Mr. Kreisig will start with a presentation of the XA1000 and I will follow with a live demonstration through our document camera. At the end, Mr. Kreisig will close with an additional software and give you a brief overview of the planned handheld portfolio. Mr. Kreisig?
So welcome also from my side. So I want to talk a little bit about the key features of the XA1000 here. So first of all, of course, we have a graphic color TFT LCD display. So some people ask me what means TFT. This is a thin film transistor based technology which will control the LCD, which is a liquid crystal display. So that's the explanation of TFT LCD display here. Then we will have, of course, a full glass touchscreen in combination with a sensitive touchpad. You see that on the picture. On the top you see the touchscreen, and at the bottom you have this sensitive touchpad where you can also go through different menus. You can scroll back. So there are some buttons to go back to the first menu and all of these different things here. So of course, one feature is a display brightness adjustment. That means this auto brightness function will control the display depending on the sun influence. So depending on the sun, the display becomes brighter or darker, of course, automatically. But of course, you can also adjust them manually if you want in the menu. We will show that later anyway. So the firmware which is programmed on the handheld here on the XA1000 is a really intuitive operating system, and it's easy to use for the customers. One of the most important things here is of the XA1000 series that we will have a data storage possibility. That means we have a data flash inside the XA1000, and in this data flash you can store, for example, 1 million measurement values or about 200 files. That means you can also store the graphics which you will create with the values on the touchscreen, and you can store them, about 200 of them. Then, of course, I told you we have a graphical display. That means you can also show the values in bar graphs, in graphs, in addition, of course, to the numeric display. That means you can also show the values in a numeric way, if you want. So you can choose between these different ways to show values on the touchscreen. One benefit of the XA1000 also is that you can use smart graph to read out the values. So you will have a USB port on the XA1000 which you can use to read out the values via SmartGraph 3. So that means it's fully supported by SmartGraph 3, and of course it's a nice thing because you can also combine the applications. You can combine Opus 20 devices together with handheld devices in one software, which is the SmartGraph 3 here. We have a low power design. That means the power consumption is very low for this type of handheld here. That means you use normally 4 AA batteries, which you have to insert behind on the handheld. And if you switch it on, you will be able to use it for 24 hours completely. So that's a real low power design. If you compare that with a smartphone, you will never be able to do that with a smartphone normally. Also, one very important thing is that you will be able to update firmware versions automatically or manually if you want. So that will be done normally with the smart graph again. And these updates are available on our homepage, so you can always visit our homepage and check if there are some updates available here. So these are the key features, first of all. Then we go to the sensors. We have the XA1000 has an internal air pressure sensor which is built in on the main board here, and with this sensor we will be able to measure the absolute and the relative air pressure. That means, of course, if you want to measure the relative air pressure, you have to insert the height where you normally will start to measure. So that means the height of the place where you are standing or where you are measuring. This can be done in the manual. Also, Mr. Süß will show you that later anyway, how to do that. So that's the internal sensor, which is the air pressure sensor. Of course, we will be able to connect also external sensors. For that reason, we have integrated on the XA1000 a digital interface, which is an RS485 interface. It is only let's say the physical layer is an RS485 here. That means the signals are transferred with this interface. But the protocol we use is a Luft special protocol, so because often this is asked if you can also connect different other brands of sensors, which is not possible here. Because we have our own protocols, we have to use special Luft sensors to connect to the XA1000 here. So the first sensor which will be available is our temperature humidity sensor, our TFF. And this can be connected to this connector here, which you will see on the picture also. And in the future, we will also have different other sensors. For example, we will also have a highly precise temperature humidity sensor with an accuracy of 0.1 Celsius degree plus minus, and of course plus minus 0.5% of relative humidity. This will be available end of this year. Then we will also, or it's planned to have a CO2 sensor for the XA1000. Also this sensor will be available end of this year. And also airflow is possible to be measured by the XA1000, normally in a range from 0 to 20 meters per second. You can choose, of course, the units inside the menu anyway. And these airflow sensors will also be available in the future. Anyway, we will also give you the opportunity to visit a new webinar with the sensors. So that means we will do a special webinar where we explain you the sensors, the different new sensors in the future. Okay, so now you have the possibility to ask some question. I think there is one question here. Can the XA1000 be adjusted if the sensor not meet its accuracy? Maybe you mean if you can calibrate it, right? I think you will be able to do a one-point calibration. That means you can enter an offset. Yes, that's the only possibility what you can do. You can enter an offset which is a one-point calibration. If you, of course, will need a better calibration type, then you have to send it to a calibration laboratory where we can, of course, calibrate different temperature points, and also, of course, if you want different humidity points, so all the different combinations here. Okay, so now Mr. Süß will show you how to use the manual and how the handheld will look like.
We'll switch to the document camera now. And as you can see, this is the new XA1000. It fits really good in the hands. It has a rubber grip on both sides, so you can use it with fairly wet hands as well. It doesn't slide of your hands. As you can see, you have your full TFT display. Here's the RS485 interface, what Mr. Kreisig told you. Your battery pack is in the back. And you have your on and off switch, and of course your mini USB port. This one you can use either for updates or for data transfer, or you can use it in mains power. So you just plug in mains power and connect it to the XA1000, and the battery shuts down. So you only operate in mains power then. To turn it on, you just click 3 seconds on the on and off button, and the XA1000 illuminates. Alright, when it starts, it will automatically enter the measuring mode. As you can see here, we have now the air pressure sensor on. So here in this area you see which type of sensors you have currently connected. As Mr. Kreisig already told you, we have an internal air pressure sensor, and as you can see there is no one connected. We'll just add the TFT sensor to the handheld. Screw it on, and you see here it automatically detects the TFT. Alright, so you have your time and battery life. You have your readings, 3 in the row, like temperature, relative humidity, and air pressure. If you want to have not only the measured values, you can also calculate values or choose calculated values. You just enter this menu and you have now 7 slides of different possibilities of calculated values, from mixing ratio of water, like evaporation, specific enthalpy, saturation, ice bubble temperature, and so on. So you can choose in those 3 menus 3 different also calculated types. As you can see, you can also steer your XA1000 to the steering cross, and if you enter the X, you have the possibility to split screen your screen. You have the possibility to display average, to display minimum, maximum, average, and the hold. You choose the average for now. So you see you have your basic readings and your average, which is calculated every second new. And you can see you have the error code of E55 because the reading started without having the TFT sensor on, the TFF sensor on. You just press the refresh button and it refreshes and calculates the values every second. You can also store the data you have in here now. So you just press the save button, you hear 1 beep, and it stores the value you have just seen on your display. If you press it a second time, it means the 1 beep creates a folder, the second beep stores data into the folder. So if you don't leave the menu now, it always stores the data in this folder. You leave the menu, you come back, and it starts to create a new folder. You have also the possibility to record readings and measurements over time, either over a specific time like 5, 10, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 3 hours, or manually. For that you just push the record button and you stop it again and it stores the data. Talking about storing the data, you can enter your archive. Here you see all your measurements you have taken and stored on your flash drive. So you see your percentage of recorded data. You see what kind of sensor you've taken. Here you have the TFF with the water drop. You have a bunch of readings in one file, for example. It's shown in a graph, or you have single readings which is shown with a dot. We just entered this one now. Now it shows you the information of the reading. You can enter them, you can delete them, or you say, okay, you want to go back. We want to display the data now. And here it is. We switch to relative humidity because in blue it is better to see. As you can see, you have here on the x-axis your time axis. It is always a fixed time axis of 0 to 180, and you have the possibility to scroll to your right and of course back. So if you scroll to your right, you have the extended temperature readings over the next time period. For now it's 180 to 360 seconds. And what is really nice is you can switch between your different measurements in the same time level. So it doesn't switch back to zero always. Okay, then you have your y-axis. This axis depends on your minimum and maximum reading plus x and shrinks or maximizes the size. What you have here is the information of when you have taken the reading, what time, and for how long. Additionally, the XA1000 displays you the minimum, maximum, average, and standard deviation. So you have all informations you need right away. All right. The last thing here will be the settings. First page of the settings, you can choose your languages. We have around 12 now. You can choose either between metric or imperial or both to display. You can adjust your display brightness, time settings. You have automatically dim times, on and off switch automatically, beep on and off, and what Mr. Kreisig already told you, you can set your altitude. On your last page, you have a different DIN calculation for airflow volume. So here you can choose, if you have an anemometer, the airflow volume, how it's been calculated on different DIN norms. Yes, and that's it for now. We will have, as Mr. Kreisig told you as well, different sensors coming up, and he will show you a little bit more what's all about the smart graph.
So of course I want to tell you a little bit now about the smart graph. You know maybe smart graph, but anyway I will try to explain a little bit. So we have a software which is called Smart Graph Free, which is which you can download free on our homepage, on our web page. It is easy to use. It's a simple software which can be installed on all the different Windows 7 PCs or laptops. And with the XA1000 you will be able also to create online queries. That means you can connect the XA1000 directly to the PC and start a query with Smart Graph Free here. And that's a nice function here. So you will of course also see the data directly on the screen of the laptop if you want. So you have the possibility to show these values in numerical and graphical way. That means you will create graphs, bar graphs, and you can also put these values into a table, and that's a nice function anyway. And also a nice feature is if you need the data in a special format, for example in Excel format, you can also create an export file with this measurement data which you have stored from the XA1000. Another thing is that you will also be able to print this value. So there is a nice print function in Smart Graph Free with a preview and everything, so you can create your own print outs, and you can of course mix them if you want to print a table or if you want to print the graphs, and you will get a preview for this, and then you can start to print your measurement data. So with the XA1000 this Smart Graph Free will be included in the delivery. Alright? So for the future we will have more different versions of the X series, of the X generation here. So we started now with the XA series, which is the Expert Advanced series. So that means that you can connect different sensors, different digital sensors, which will fit in your application or which you need to do your measurements. In the future we will have another version or another type, which is the XC Excellent series. This will be the base model or the starter model to measure. That means we will have a fixed temperature humidity sensor which is fixed installed on the handheld. We will not have a data storage possibility with this series, but we will have, of course, also the touchscreen TFT display. And so this is a base model or a starter model. For the specialists, for the experts, that means for people that need a special handheld for a special application, we will have the XP series, the Expert series. These are handhelds which has special sensors installed with a special accuracy and which will fit in a special application. And this will be the Expert series in the future. Maybe we can talk about the price and the release date.
So the release date will be within the next 2 weeks, and the price will be 395 euros on the list price. That's it. I see we have a question here.
Yeah, we have a question here. Anyway, you have the possibility now to send us a question if you want. Does any of the AI SDI sensors fits for the XA1000? Yes. So this is the same bus. That means we have, of course, implemented this special Luft protocol also in the XA1000. So you can also connect the A1 SDI sensors to the XA1000. That will fit. That's not a problem. Do you have some additional questions?
Okay then. I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you for your interest. And what is popping up?
We have another question now. Could we receive any PowerPoint to introduce to our customer?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just drop me an email with patrick.suess@luft.de, and I will send you the presentation right away.
Okay.
Okie doke. Next
Another
question.
one. Is it possible to name each mesh site like room 1, 2, 3 on the
handheld itself? No, but nice thing about that one, as soon as you create a new folder, it will automatically name the folder 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So if you transfer the data now from your XA1000 to SmartGraph, you can easily, like in all Windows PCs, rename your folders and rename the folders as you like. Any more questions? All right, then thank you very much. I say thank you again. And
also thank you from my side, and we will meet again because we will have new webinars in the future also with this topic XA1000 or handhelds anyway, with the sensors, with the new versions. So stay tuned for the next webinars.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.